radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Good evening. Fade to Black. Bespoke Radio for the masses. Yeah, man. How you doing? How you doing? Today's Wednesday, February 3rd, 2021. 34 days into the new year, only 333 days left. 331, something like that. We are live from a bunker somewhere in the middle of beautiful downtown Burbank, California, and I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the Planet. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? How you doing? How you doing? All right. Tonight, it's the return of Darryl Anka. That's right, the channel. The Chandler of Bashar. Lots to talk about tonight with Darryl. Very excited about this. What a great week on the show. Wrapping things up tonight and, of course, rolling into tomorrow, which is another Fader night. But tomorrow night, it's our Conscious Life Expo 2021 special preview event that we do every single year. All right, so that's tomorrow night. We've got Robert Q. Quicksilver here. He's the producer of the event. I don't even, Rita, have we ever had Q on the show? What a special night that's going to be tomorrow night. Q is joining us. Now, we posted lots of pictures of Q. I don't know if he's ever been on the show. So that's tomorrow night. Also with Serena Wright Taylor. Okay, that's tomorrow night. And T. Celise can't join us tomorrow night. She's got some things going on and couldn't be here, but she wanted me to tell everybody hello. So there you go. I got that out of the way. I'll do it again tomorrow night. We love T. And then if we have some time, it's Fader night. So maybe we'll open up the phone lines. We'll see how that goes. Oh, come on. You know I can't have a week without your phone calls. I know you got nervous there for a second. You're like, what? What? No phone calls. All right. So that's tomorrow night. And today, I don't know if I should have grabbed a picture of this. Carolyn Ford posted a picture of a new crystal skull. I'm actually gonna do this right now. I'm gonna do this in real time. It posted this picture today. I have never, whoever gets this skull, it's called Bumblebee Jasper, Queen Beatrice. It's made out of bumblebee jasper. That, I'm going to post it right now. Check this out, everybody. Just check this out. I'm just going to call this Bumblebee. I'm going to save this really quick. And at this point, I'm just going to call it Bumble. Save some time. But I'm going to post this up on Twitter. Check this out. And Rita, if you could, Queen. Rita, if you could retweet this with Carolyn's Queen Beatrice, with Carolyn's website and link. Incredible. I mean, look, just look at this. Now, so beautiful that for a second I thought to myself, this is going to end up here in the bunker. I have to do this. So I should have been better prepared tonight, but I got it out now. Look at this. Okay, it's up now. It's up now in Twitter. Go to hashtag F2B. That is the sandbox. And did I post it in the sandbox? Did I forget what? There it is. Look at that. I mean, have you ever? That is a beautiful crystal skull. And if you want yours, if you want Queen Beatrice, race. EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com. The links are over at JimmyChurchRadio.com. Look at that. That is just beautiful. 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 Okay. All right. Where am I at? Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Yeah, I know, right? Am I wrong? Yes. Yes. Look at that. Yeah. Okay. Looks like I'm not alone in my admiration of that crystal skull. Look at that. Man. Incredible. Carolyn Ford's got the best. EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com. And now that I've posted Queen Beatrice, one of you is going to go and pick up Queen Beatrice. Use the promo code Jimmy, Jimmy. Get 10% off of Queen Beatrice. And one of you is going to get it. And him or her, and post pictures when you do. That is just, I mean, oh man, I've seen a lot of crystal skulls in my day, but that is just unbelievable. Unbelievable. Okay. Hashtag F2B is the sandbox. All of the chat rooms are open. Hello to everybody over on YouTube. That's where the trouble is, right there. I'm talking to you on YouTube. All right, I'm going to go to, check this out. I'm going to do this right now. I'm going to go over. I'm going to have to mute this. Okay. All right. Let's see what the troublemakers are doing right now over YouTube. Where's our split screen? I didn't know we had a split screen. What's a split screen? Oh, you're talking about, I don't know how to do that stuff. Can I post it up in Messenger? Oh, hold on for a second. No, you can't post Can you post pictures in... No, you can't in the YouTube, right? You can't do it. I mean, I can't drag and drop. I've never tried it. I know nothing about YouTube, everybody, just so you know. Can you do this? Okay, I just dragged and dropped it over there in YouTube. And no, you can't. Right? Or did it pop up for a second? I saw it. Let me try that again. That was interesting just to see. So it says here, it says copy. No, I want to paste this. I don't know how that works. I don't know how that works, folks. I would love for you to see it. I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to do that stuff. Okay, let me get back to the show. We've got a show to do tonight. Any questions or comments, hashtag F2BQ. You can also email Jimmy at JimmyChurchRadio.com. Insane breaking news today. I'm going to start with this. Scientists have successfully studied Einsteinium, one of the most elusive and heaviest elements on the periodic table, for the first time in decades. The achievement brings chemists closer to discovering the so-called island of stability, where some of the heftiest and shortest-lived elements are thought to reside. The U.S. Department of Energy first discovered Einsteinium in 1952 in the fallout of the first hydrogen bomb test. The element does not occur naturally on Earth. Now, over at Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory, Berkeley Lab, at the University of California, they recently created a 233 nanogram sample of pure Einsteinium, which has a half-life of just 276 days. Now, the results of the study were published today in the journal Nature. Radioactive, man. They've got a stabilized version of it called Einsteinium-254, I believe that's what it's called. But it emits some heavy duty radiation. Jared, okay, now listen to this. Bringing this kind of news to you makes me happy. But listen to this. Jared Isaacman, a payment systems entrepreneur, an avid pilot, has just confirmed he purchased a Crew Dragon mission from SpaceX. He purchased the whole mission for a multi-day trip around the Earth slated to launch from Kennedy Space Center before the end of 2021. The 37-year-old billionaire is the founder of Shift 4 Payments. He's a rich guy. Now, the Inspiration 4 mission is allowing members of the public to join the trip that will complete an Earth orbit every 90 minutes. Isaacman has partnered with St. Jude Children's Hospital in Memphis, Tennessee, in an effort to raise $200 million or more for St. Jude. Of the 4 seats on the Crew Dragon, one goes to Isaacman because he's going to command and pilot the mission. That's right. The second seat, labeled Hope, will go to a frontline healthcare worker from St. Jude. How cool is that? The third seat is called Generosity, and it will go to a member of the public who donates to St. Jude at inspiration4.com. Packages include $10 for 100 entries and run all the way up to $100,000 for 10,000 entries. The fourth and final seat is called Prosperity. It will go to someone who uses Isaacman's online shopping platform. It's called Shift 4 Shop, to set up a website and share the story via Twitter. An announcement on the winners is expected in a month, and all Dragon riders will go through a standard medical screenings before the launch. How cool is that? 3 civvies, 3 civilians, actually 4 if you count Isaacman, right? On a Crew Dragon this year, 2021, orbiting the Earth. How cool is that? You need to go. $10 for 100. I mean, what other chance do you have to go and do that? That's an incredible story. Now, a roller coaster now under development in the Middle East is set to smash existing records for speed, height, and track length. It's called Falcon's Flight. The ride will be the main attractions of Six Flags Saudi Arabia. That's right, outside the capital of Riyadh. And it will be opened in 2023. Riders will experience the thrill of diving over a vertical cliff that is 525 feet deep. Thanks to the use of a magnetic motor acceleration, LSM technology, and achieve unprecedented speeds of 155 miles per hour over 2.5 miles of track. Yeah. Just thinking about that makes you oh, man. I got sick. Rita, can I tell the story about us at the carnival? Okay, I'm going to tell a story about us at the carnival. I love rides. Roller coasters, taller, faster, this, that, drop. I'm into all of that, right? And we've got our 2 daughters with us, and we're driving, and there's this carnival, right, here in the valley, set up in, like, Target's parking lot or something. And I'm like, okay, let's go. And they were young. They were both probably 8 years old. And we're walking through, and I'm Mr. Big Shot Dad, acting tough. And they want to ride all the rides, and we're doing that. We're playing games and things. And what's the one where you you're on it's like a swing, and it goes around, and the swings go out, the single chairs, and it's whipping around. Rita won't ride it. She's down on the ground, right? And me and my daughters are up there, and this thing's whipping around, and I think I just drank like a slushie, right, with caramel corn. And I was in a great mood, too. And this thing's whipping around, and I'm waving at Rita and our daughters as we come around, and Rita's on the ground wave. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, oh, no. 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 Not up here. Not above this crowd of people. This cannot happen. And I'm like, oh, man. And Rita said, as this thing's going around, she said she could literally see my color change. Right? And now I went from waving and smiling, and I'm like coming around, and I'm looking at her, and I'm not. And suddenly the ride stopped. I got off, and I took off running, and went and hid behind a tree and got sick. I couldn't believe it. I was so embarrassed. I was so embarrassed. And my daughters, I'm the hero to them. Look at me like, Dad, you wuss. Wuss. Can't handle the kiddie swings. True story. True story. All right. I've never told that story in public, and I'll never tell it again. All right, let's get the show cracking. Happy birthday to today, Nathan Lane, 65 years old, the birdcage. Johnny Guitar Watson. That's right. The one and only Johnny Guitar Watson, played with Frank Zappa, is 86 years old. The Kinks, Dave Davies. You really got me. The Kinks, Come Dancing. Dave Davies today is 74 years old. And also, old friend of mine, go way back. Guitarist Richie Kotzen today is 51. He says he's 51. There ain't no way. He's 51. Happy birthday, Richie Kotzen. He's older than me. Our dead guy's birthday today is Arthur Killer Kane. 1949 to 2004, Killer was the bassist for the New York Dolls. He was the founding member in 1971 until he was forced out in 1975, shortly after the departure of Johnny Thunders and Jerry Nolan. In 2004, Killer rejoined the surviving Dolls, David Johansen and Sylvain Sylvain, for a reunion concert in London, which was the subject of the 2005 documentary New York Doll. And if you haven't seen that documentary, you need to go and watch it tonight after the show. Because right after that film, right after the concert, on July 13th, 2004, just 22 days after the concert in London, Killer thought he arrived back here in Los Angeles, and he thought that he caught the flu in London and checked himself into the Los Angeles hospital, complaining of fatigue. He was quickly diagnosed with leukemia and died just 2 hours later. Incredible. Happy birthday, Arthur Killer Kane. On this day in history, 1966, the Soviet Union accomplishes the first controlled landing on the moon when the unmanned spacecraft Lunik 9 touches down on the Ocean of Storms on this day in 1966. Fate or fact? All right. Here you go. 25% of all mammal species on Earth are, wait for it, bats. That's right. From the world's smallest mammal, the bumblebee bat, like this big, all the way up to the giant golden crown flying bat, which has a wingspan of over 6 feet. That's crazy. And that is your Fate or Fact. All right, tonight is the return of Darryl Anka. He will be with us at the bottom of the hour. Channeler of Bashar. We're going to be talking about all of that tonight. And tomorrow night's another Fader night, but it is our annual Conscious Life Expo 2021 special preview event with Q and Serena Wright Taylor, followed by open lines. All right, let me hit this River Moon coffee. I got something to say. Always do. rivermoonwellness.com. rivermoonwellness.com. Promo code F2B Blend. That's right. Fade to Black Blend. I like my coffee, Doc. All right. Yeah, you guys like Queen Beatrice, didn't you? All right. Yeah, the kitty swings. That was no joke. All right. Tonight, Darryl Anka is with us. And I wanted to share with you, I don't get a chance to talk about this often, and I don't do it often enough, but my thoughts on channeling. For me, it simply comes down to physics. It does. What is going on with channeling? A lot of people do it. Some are really, really good. And there's that part. And then there are those that are channeling you just don't even know. Voice in your head, you hear something, things. Right? Okay. Channelers are able to focus in on that and get that direct connection. Is it entanglement? I think so. I think when it comes down to when I bring up physics, I think it's faster than light communication. I think it's instant communication over vast distances. And whether that is something that maybe is inside of our atmosphere, right? Craft that arrives above your heads, in orbit around planet Earth, out near Mars, out in the Kuiper Belt. How about in Andromeda? Okay, 12 and a half light years away. All right, okay, so there has to be a way. There has to be a way for life in the universe to talk over vast distances without a concern for the speed of light. Right? I'm talking about speed of light, like radio transmissions, right? Electricity, television, speed of light. Now, this is where I know I'm right. Imagine two starships, okay? I'm on one. All of us are, okay? We are on one here in our solar system. We're getting ready to leave the orbit of Earth, and we're going to head out. And the other starship has just departed a star system 50 light years away. All right? And we're headed in their general direction. But we're going to go, say, to a star that's nearby where they, in the universe, in that general direction. And we want some info. Maybe we want to know, hey, did you visit that other star? Is there planets nearby? Are there resources there? Is there life? We're going to go check that out. What have you found out? Right? That's where we are headed. Well, we would want to get that information from that other starship. But if it's 50 light years away, the obvious thing is that we would have to wait 50 years, right? They would have to wait 50 years for the first call to come in. We would have to wait an additional 50 years for their response. And if we are traveling at the speed of light, by the time their response got to us, we would arrive there. That just won't work. It won't work. They have to have a way to communicate over vast distances instantly. We can't wait a year for a reply if somebody's 1 light year away, and 1 light year is close by. But we can't wait for that. 2 years for a response and a reply, and then their answer, 3 years, 4 years, just to have a 4-sentence communication back and forth. It doesn't work that way. This is why channeling, to me, is not only possible, but it's the only answer for what is going on. There is some type of entanglement. There is some kind of absolute instantaneous communication that is happening. It has to be. And I remember when I had said, and I really mean this, Alpha Centauri, right? Right next to us, 4.5 light years away, closest star system to us, got a couple of planets there, binary star system. Things are in the habitable zone, and that's where we are going to go first. That is a guarantee. We are headed, as soon as we can figure this out, that's where we're going first, right? Okay. That's 4.5 light years away. And if anything goes wrong when we are out there to let Earth know that we've got issues going on, Earth's not going to hear about it for 4.5 years? No. We have to figure. Intelligent life out there has got it figured out. So, if somebody here is channeling an extraterrestrial species, individual out there, that's what's happening. And that communication would happen in real time, not at the speed of light, in real time. And there are individuals on this planet that can do it. I am convinced of that. Doesn't mean that every channeler is authentic. I'm not saying that. But there are plenty of people on this planet by the millions that have heard a voice in their head, that have heard it. It's somebody reaching out. And not only reaching out, but maybe just accidentally picking up a conversation and hearing it. Absolutely convinced of that. It has to be that way. There can't be another way to travel the universe, travel around a galaxy, and not communicate. You have to be able to communicate, and that communication has to happen in real time. It can't be waiting 100 years, 150 years. The universe is 90 billion light years across. That's huge distances of time. 95 billion. You're not going to wait 95 billion years, 45, half of the universe, 45 billion years for a reply. It ain't going to happen. No, there's something else going on. I am convinced of it. We're going to be talking about that tonight with Bashar and so much more. I am your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network. Dimensional communications possible. I don't know. That was good, Eric. I like that. That's from Eric Shaw. I don't know. There's something going on. Let's see here. I hope you do believe in channeling, but do you believe in telepathic communication? I absolutely do. I do it all the time. I'm doing it now. I made you tweet that. That's from Save the Planet. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Twitter's live in front of me right now. I'll be right back after this short break with Darryl Anka. Stay with us.
This is Nicole Church, daughter of you-know-who, and you're listening to Fade to Black on JimmyChurchRadio.com and the Game Changer Network.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio. Introducing the Game Changer blend from River Moon Coffee that delivers a customized blend made specifically for the Fadernauts. If the game is rigged, change the game. It's a bolder cup with some bite. Game Changer is the coffee of choice for those that prefer an organic dark roast that is slightly lighter and milder, but it's still dark, with wild notes of Pecans and chocolate with a rich, balanced, full-bodied cup that is roasted to perfection for a great coffee to start your day, as an after-dinner coffee or anywhere in between. Artisan, small batch roasted to perfection. USDA certified organic, all River Moon coffee is freshly roasted and packaged in the USA. Just go to rivermooncoffee.com or click on the banners over on our site and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. rivermooncoffee.com.
This is the only way forward.
Fade to Black. Make contact. KGRAradio.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can get our podcast for just $2 per month. All you have to do is click on the podcast banner over at jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, folks. It's troubling times, and fear is pushing emotions, which in turn pushes health the wrong direction. Do you ever get an ache because life is uneasy? Try Life Change Tea at getthetea.com. Life Change Tea works on your digestive tract, helping to move food through quicker and comfortably so your health is spot on. Life Change Tea may not help with world issues, but it will help with your digestive issues. A glass a day helps keep the intruders away. So, change your life today. Log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. If your health game is off, get on by ordering Life Change Tea. Getthetea.com. And while you're on our site, look around at the great non-GMO organic supplements. And if you're a sales shopper, go to our specials page and see what's for you. I've been drinking the tea for 12 years and I'm sure glad for its health benefits. Again, that's getthetea.com. Getthetea.com. The tea that makes you go.
Fadernauts. When you think about the future of our country and where we're headed, do you wonder about the food supply? I do. Disruptions in the food supply chain could be disastrous, and they usually occur with little warning. That's why the smartest thing you can do today is to stockpile emergency food, water, and other essentials. I personally recommend My Patriot Supply. They're the nation's largest emergency preparedness company, serving millions of customers for more than a decade. In fact, they're the only source my family trusts for our preparedness plan. You should too. Right now, save 20% off a full 4-week supply of delicious meals that provide 2,000 calories a day. Saving 20% helps too, doesn't it? Especially now. So go to preparewithjimmy.com and get ready. That's preparewithjimmy.com. There's no time to lose. Do it now.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the planet.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
Welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Darryl Anka is here. Tomorrow night is our annual, we do this every year, our annual Conscious Life Expo special preview event. Q's going to be here. Serena Wright-Taylor's going to be here. We're going to go through everything. Darryl Anka not going to be here tomorrow night. He's here with us tonight. But, of course, he will be joining us with Conscious Life Expo in just, can you believe it, Darryl, in 3 weeks. Coming up quick. Tonight, Darryl is here. We're going to be talking about his life. We're going to talk a little bit about Bashar. We're going to talk about his recent documentary, First Contact, which, of course, explores his life as a channel and the messages that Bashar shares through him and the earth changes that we are all experiencing today. And we're also going to take a fresh look at 2021. He has been channeling Bashar for over 35 years. Now, along with Edgar Cayce, Seth and Abraham-Hicks, the Bashar material has been heralded as some of the most relevant, compelling, and dynamic information delivered to this planet to date. I have been following this information
for a couple of decades. I just find it compelling and comprehensive. In addition to channeling Bashar, he expresses his creative talents in the forms of he's writing. He's an actor. He's a director. He produces films through his company, Zia Films. All of his links are over at jimmychurchradio.com, and I would like to welcome back to Fade to Black, the one and only Darryl Anka. Darryl, good evening, man. How are you?
I'm good, Jimmy. How are you? Just one small little correction. I'm not an actor.
I've said that so many times in the past. What are you channeling that to me to make that mistake so you can throw me under the bus?
Yes. Here comes a big bus for you.
This is, hanging out with you, not only on the show, but in person is just a wonderful experience. And I've had the honor a couple of times to not only introduce you at events, but to hang out with the audience. And I've got to say, you must be able to, you may deny this, but you've got to pick up on the wonderful vibe that comes off of that audience because they are just happy. Everybody is in the right place when they come to see you do your thing, right? Do you feed off of that?
It's magnificent. It's very gratifying. I mean, it's one of the reasons why I continue to do it is just what it does for people, what the information does to help them change their lives in really positive ways. And that's just very gratifying to know that I'm blessed to be able to bring that to people.
I think we talked about this last year, but I'm going to mention it again. Last year, when I introduced you, you and I were alone backstage. And you're still Darryl at this point. But what I mean, yeah, you're still Darryl. But I had the very unique opportunity to see the what's the word I want to use? The change, the metamorphosis, what's going on, because I'm walking away from you out onto the stage. Mm-hmm. And then the next time that I am with you, you are now channeling Bashar, right? I'm telling you, there's not too many people in the world that can say this, but I was blown away.
Well, thank you.
I don't even know how to put it into words because I'm there, right? I'm going through this. And I remember later on, it might have been the next day or later on that evening, I went up to you and said, thank you for allowing me to have that conversation with you at the beginning and ask the first question. I said, it was incredible. You go, and you looked at me and said, Jimmy, what did Bashar say?
Yeah, I don't remember.
Yes.
It's an state.
And take us through that. So you had to ask me what Bashar said.
Yeah,
when you are done, is it now in the past? Is it a part of the ether?
It fades like you wake up from a dream. It's very dynamic and energetic and very present when I'm in it, but it flows by so fast. Time is very compressed in that altered state, the channeling state. And I get images, I get feelings, I get telepathic downloads of the general concepts that sort of sink into me in a way I can use them. But I'm not really hearing the conversation. It's sort of like, if you're having a really deep daydream, somebody walks in the room and they got to go, hey, Jimmy, 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 3 times, 4 times before you actually hear that somebody's talking to you. It's kind of like that. The conversation is so secondary to what I'm experiencing as the flow of energy that Bashar is delivering to people in the conversation, that when I come out of it, it's just kind of like, okay, it just kind of goes away and fades and I get on with my life. If there's something that is important that happened that's different or interesting, people usually tell me and I can kind of keep up with that. But I get all the concepts I need, but I don't necessarily need to hear the conversation in the way that other people need to hear it from what Bashar is telling them. So it just doesn't really stick as the overall conversation. What sticks are the basic principles that were discussed.
Now, I am convinced that this is physics at work.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
I think it's just energy states. I mean, we already know from what we did in the First Contact documentary, where I did a channeling when I was wired to an EEG machine, a brainwave machine, in that this is a real altered state, and everyone does it when you're doing what you love to do, when you're in the zone and in that moment, kind of lost. You don't feel the passage of time in the same way. You're in a channeling state, so you can do a number of things with it. And I happen to fall into this particular path. But it's the gamma state. It's between 40 and about 100 cycles per second in the brain. And every single one who gets involved deeply in something that they're passionate about goes into the channeling state. An actor who becomes the character, a singer who's lost in the song, what have you. Everyone does it. It's a natural altered state. And that's really kind of what we wanted to show. One of the things we wanted to show in the documentary is to demystify this whole concept of channeling, that it really is just different energy states, physics, like you said, and that people are all capable of this. And it's a state where you make more connections in the brain. Things are flowing more smoothly. You see more associations to things. You see things from a different perspective. It allows your own kind of higher mind to come through in a greater way. It allows for more creativity. Just, seeing things from a different point of view. So that's the most important thing, I think, to think about what it is that happens when people get into a channeling state. Is this is totally natural, and it's something that we can all do, and ideally we'll do more and more often, because it seems to provide insights and information that are quite positive and constructive and creative.
Is the connection between, and in your case it's Bashar, but it could be somebody on the other side of the universe that isn't Bashar. Is that connection purely entanglement?
Well, sort of, in the sense, as I understand it, that the old ideas of some entity possessing you, that's really just an outdated, old-fashioned way of describing the experience. It may look like that's what's happening, but that's not the mechanics of it. The mechanics of it is that when you go into an altered state, you are changing the frequency of your brainwaves, the frequency of your overall energy, and you are attempting to match the frequency or mirror the frequency of something else, whether it be a higher consciousness, your own higher mind, another entity, whatever it is. And then you become a version, a model, a mirror, reflecting the vibration of that being. And when you're in that state, you have the same thoughts at the same time, because that's what that state generates as thoughts. This is how, as Bashar has explained it, this is how telepathy works. It's not that you're reading someone else's mind, it's that you're on the same wavelength, and therefore automatically will have the same thoughts at the same time synchronistically. In other words, you're reading your own mind. You just happen to be in sync with someone else, and therefore you're both generating similar thoughts simultaneously.
Is this how, and I believe this must be how it's done, but advanced civilizations out there that are cruising around the Milky Way or the universe are not waiting light years for communication to be sent and received. No. That communication has to be direct and in real time across the vastness of space. Is this how that communication is done?
For the most part, yes. Now, let's go back to what you mentioned, because you talked about entanglement. And one of the things that Bashar has said recently, and I'm not exactly sure where the physics community is on this. I think Bashar recently talked to a physicist in a private session, and the general impression I think I got is that most physicists, there may be exceptions, consider entanglement between two particles to be controversial in the sense that some still see it as action at a distance, instantaneous communication over a distance. And that's one of the reasons I think Einstein found it so unfavorable, unpalatable, because he said, this is like spooky action at a distance. It doesn't make any sense. Well, what Bashar is basically saying about entanglement is that it's not representative of action at a distance or communication over a distance. entanglement represents the idea that distance is an illusion, that space and time are illusions. Therefore, everything is actually here and now. And that's why the communication can be instantaneous, because it's not actually traveling anywhere. It's operating on a level of reality that supersedes the concept of the illusion of distance.
Is it something that, well, obviously we don't understand now, but even if Bashar came on national television, right, and explained these to us, we wouldn't understand it.
Well, hopefully some people would, or he would be able to at least explain it in a way that would make sense to some degree, at least as a beginning of a concept, or at least an offer to go in a different direction with these thoughts.
Now, does this also explain the comments that so many people have, the voices in my head? You know, I heard something. Is this something that they encountered without intention? You know, maybe an accident.
Yeah, it could be. I don't. Of course, there may be many reasons for that particular experience. Anything from there might be some imbalance in the person, all the way to they might be sensing truly something if they're sensitive enough to pick up on other frequencies, other wavelengths. But perhaps if there's confusion in that, then they simply may not have been taught what that's about and how to handle it, because no one has told them that that can be real, that they might be able to actually tap into other frequencies, other wavelengths, other communications from parallel realities or what have you. But, you know, it's a broad spectrum of answers to that question, because it could be the result of some imbalance in the person, or it could be the result of them picking up on something just because they're simply sensitive enough to do so.
Now, if I go to a channeling class and I'm with 100 other people, am I able to learn how to tap into this along with those 100 other people, or is there only a select few that would be able to jump into this?
Well, like I said, everyone channels. It's a natural state we all have the ability to do. The question isn't, can everyone do it? The question is, does everyone have the same way of expressing it? Some people might just be able to channel the idea of being a better artist or a better writer.
Right.
And let it flow. Some people might want to connect to their own higher mind and make a better connection and relationship on that level, and bring information through, download information just from the cosmos itself, because information is embedded everywhere. Or again, you can, on some level, perhaps make an agreement with another entity to allow that entity to share its thoughts that can be brought through in one way, shape, or form. So it's not impossible that everyone in the class can learn to get into the channeling state. I doubt that everyone would express it the same way.
Is it also discipline like anything else?
Yeah, practice.
Yeah.
The more you do it, the better you get. Now, one of the tricks that I've learned over time that allows people who want to go into a channeling state similar to what I do is, if you are channeling for other people and they have questions that they really need the answers to, it sort of helps bring the information through you and grounds it in them. Because if you're just getting the information for yourself, you almost don't really have to go, let's say, all the way into the altered state, because it's just coming to you. If you're open enough to get some downloads, you'll get it, and it doesn't have to go anywhere else. But in terms of the way I do it, where an entity comes through and talks to people, it's helpful because it's almost like electricity in the sense that it seeks a ground. And when someone is asking a question, they're almost pulling the information through you into them. And therefore, you can just get out of the way. You're not having to really do anything other than just be open enough to let the information come into you and get translated through your brain as a translation device. So a good trick for someone who wants to vocal channel is actually start practicing with people asking questions they really need the answer to. And I say that way because there are rules to different kinds of psychic phenomena where, for example, there's the idea of the path of least resistance. And that means that if someone already has the information in the reality, and it's easier for them to just get the information by opening a book or looking in their pocket to see the answer of, how much change is in my pocket? Well, reach into your pocket and count it. There's no reason for someone to perform as a channel or psychically to get information you already have immediate access to. So there are sort of rules and guidelines to how the energy works. But generally speaking, the more you practice with that methodology in mind of people asking questions, the better you will get. And it's also all about the channel getting out of his or her own way, letting go of fear-based beliefs, stop worrying about looking silly, sounding silly, stop worrying about whether you're going to be accurate or not. You really just have to dive in, and you have to trust the process. And it will get smoother. You will get better, just like anything, if you're truly interested in moving forward with it.
I have talked to you about this before. I want to back up and remind you of one of my first experiences with Bashar was time travel. Now, you probably don't remember the specific thing that Bashar had said. Maybe you do.
I know what he says about time travel.
Okay, it's one of my big interests, and I remember going back and listening to that over and over again because it was highly technical. This was not a simple thing that anybody could just digest and understand. I had to listen to it over and over again. For you, did you have to go back, and when Bashar goes technical, and he does, do you have to go back and listen to it, maybe even write it down?
Yeah, if he's really using technical terminology, yes, I might have to do that. But I get the concept, and I can sometimes render the concept into less technical terms, into a more simplistic idea. So, for example, time travel. Bashar is saying there's really no such thing as the science fiction concept of time travel. You're actually shifting to a parallel reality, and it may look very similar to your reality. It may look like your reality did in the past, even though that's the present of that alternate reality. So you may think you've gone back into your past to visit yourself when you were younger, but that's a wholly different person in a parallel reality. That's another version of you living a completely different time track. So the idea is time travel as we think we understand it doesn't really work that way. You're just shifting into parallel realities, which, according to Bashar, we're doing anyway in order to create the side effect we know as time.
And I remember asking Bashar about this once, and it specifically about time travel. And right now, as you and I are speaking, we are creating a timeline that isn't involved with another timeline that we would visit in our past. Right? That's basically it.
Yeah, I mean, look at it this way. Here's an interesting analogy that he came up with. Say, okay, you're 10 years old, and somebody takes a photograph of you and develops the photo and puts it on the table. Here's a photo of you on the table as a 10-year-old. Then you grow up, and now you're 30 years old, and you invent a quote-unquote time machine and decide, I'm going to go back and visit my 10-year-old self. So you get in the machine, boom, bang, you step out, it looks like your past, you go up to someone that looks like your 10-year-old self, and you stand next to them, and someone takes another picture. Now you have a picture of your 10-year-old and your 30-year-old standing side by side, and you put that on the table. But the first thing you notice is that the picture of the 10-year-old is still there, and the picture of the 10-year-old and the 30-year-old is a different photograph. You didn't change the original photograph. You were not there as a 30-year-old in your 10-year-old's past. You're there as a 30-year-old in some other 10-year-old's past or present for them. So those two pictures exist simultaneously side by side. One does not change the other. They're two different time streams. They're two different realities. So
in speaking to your 10-year-old self, and you say, okay, man, here is the Van Halen 1 CD. Right. Mm-hmm. Go and learn all of these licks before Eddie Van Halen becomes a star.
Be what's happening with that 10-year-old? It has nothing to do with what you are experiencing.
Right. So I don't get to be the next Eddie Van Halen. It'll never happen.
You can, as we said sort of earlier, you can cross-connect energetically and download information from another self in a parallel reality. You can do it that way. But the idea of giving that to that 10-year-old is not directly linear connected to your particular reality in that way. You would have to make an energetic, mental, connection to download that into yourself to have it in your present.
Does this eliminate the paradox that all the physicists talk about?
Yes. There is no paradox if you're in a different reality because you're not altering your own.
And there are physicists today that are talking about this concept more often because the paradox in any form just negates time travel, right? There's just no way for you to be in this reality if you went back and changed it in any, in any form.
Each moment is its own moment and it exists forever. It's not like you need to change anything in your timeline. You are changing your path as you go. And the idea of going to a parallel reality where you're interacting with what looks like a 10-year-old version of yourself, that's just how you're continuing on your timeline. You're not actually going into your past. You're just continually going forward, and you happen to now be visiting a parallel reality with another being in it that looks like your 10-year-old self.
That's right. And so I come back to this reality. I give the Van Halen CD, right, to my 10-year-old self.
Well, it's not your 10-year-old self.
That's exactly it. What I'm saying is, so I come back to now, I'm not Eddie Van Halen.
No.
Man, I'm just bummed out right now.
Sorry.
Let's take
our break. Could be Jimmy Van Halen.
Jimmy Van Halen. Let's take our break. Our guest tonight, Darryl Anka, and we are going to time travel back to the 1970s and discuss First Contact, the documentary that is out, and you do need to go and check that out. The links for it are right there at jimmychurchradio.com. Stay with us. Darryl Anka is here. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. We'll be right back.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
Hello, my name is Billy Carson, and I am a best-selling author and the founder of ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Together with my team, we have built an all-new conscious streaming TV platform designed with every family member in mind. If you have ever wanted to travel the world and attend lectures and workshops from your favorite speakers but weren't able to, look no further. ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. There are dozens of workshops and lectures from speakers you know and love. We have also included amazing categories to assure that your consciousness is entertained and elevating on a daily basis. Amazing interviews, ancient history, ascension knowledge, wisdom teachings, documentaries, conspiracies, mysteries, health and fitness, conscious cooking, meditations, finance, yoga, and so much more. To start your free trial on any mobile device or computer, surf to ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. That's Forbidden Knowledge with the number 4, ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Again, visit ForbiddenKnowledge.tv today.
Listen, I know, and you know, that you've always wanted your first crystal skull. Or maybe you're a collector just like me, but you just don't know where to go to find the real thing. Then I met Carolyn Ford over at EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com. Carolyn is the guardian of Einstein, one of the most respected ancient crystal skulls in the world. All of her unique skulls have been imprinted sitting with Einstein in his sacred lodge and are carved from the finest gemstone and materials. Imprinting is the process of receiving the ancient wisdom from the master skull or master computer, Einstein, the ancient crystal skull. To see Carolyn's current collection of crystal skulls, just visit her store at EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com or click on the banner over on our site. Don't forget to use the promo code Jimmy at checkout to receive 10% off of your order today. That's promo code Jimmy. Finding your first or next crystal skull is easy. Just visit EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of fade to black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today.
Hello, I'm Katie, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA Digital Broadcast Station.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to jimmychurchradio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. We're also Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can become an official Fadernaut by just going to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com.
Hello, this is Serena Wright Taylor from Conscious Life Expo, and you're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church, who holds the Lucky Pony record for the best astrological chart since 1963. True story.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Darryl Anka is here. Now, what I want to do, Darryl, is, and I enjoy this so much because I live in the Valley. I'm in Southern California. I know the lay of the land. And this experience for you as it kicked off, I know the landmarks. You know, I know the area, and I'm able to visually go through this, and it's all in the film First Contact, which I've seen so many times. It's not only a great documentary, but for those of us in Southern California, we're like, okay, I get it. I know where that is, right? And all of this for you started on the 405 freeway, right?
Yes, in 1973, was driving down the San Diego freeway into the Valley with a friend with me, my brother's sister in the back seat, and my friend's brother. And we're driving down, and there's a hotel at the junction at the bottom of the hill of the 405 and 101 freeways. And it's about a 12-story tall hotel. And as we're driving down, it's just about just before dusk. And I see these two lights over the hotel, very bright, bluish white lights. And I thought, okay, you know, that's weird that an airplane or a helicopter would be that close to the hotel. But as we kept driving, I started to notice that it was just stock still, and it was not moving at all. Like it was just resting on a sheet of glass or something. And also, as we got closer, I started bringing everyone's attention to it because it was just so unusual. And then we started to get close enough to see that it wasn't a plane, it wasn't a helicopter, it was this black equilateral triangle just hovering there with a dull orange light in the center. And it had a blue-white light on each point. Now, as we passed it and went on the interchange to the 101 now going east, it went from one side of the freeway to the other, so it was again on the driver's side of the car so I could watch it. And it just went scooting over the valley toward the hills north, and just again smooth as glass without a sound. It looked to be maybe about 30 feet on a side. And we were all live physically right there. It changes everything, because now okay, this is a part of reality they don't talk to us about. This is a real thing. So, we are all excited about that, and we talked about it for a while and compared notes to make sure we all weren't hallucinating and saw the same thing. And then a week later, more astonishingly, I was driving with the same one friend who was in the passenger seat in West LA. We stopped at a red light at the intersection. I'm sorry, Pico and Westwood. And it came out of nowhere off the left from behind some buildings, crossed over the street, over Pico, and went over a residential neighborhood. And we were just like, oh my God, again? What's happening here? Are we being invaded? What's going on? And I just took off after it. I turned right and went into the neighborhood. And my friend was leaning out the window, shotgun, just like turn right, there it is, turn left, turn right, because the trees were kind of obscuring it a little bit. And we kind of lost it after a couple of minutes. And on a hunch, I just turned down this street right, and she just yelled, stop. And I slammed on the brakes, and we both looked out the window, and this thing was right above the car, maybe 70 feet up. And it just took off like a shot up into the clouds. I mean, it just disappeared in a heartbeat. And we got out and we're looking around, and there was strangely absolutely no one out on the sidewalk. No one walking their dog, no one watering their lawn, no one. But again, both of us saw it. Now, that was my introduction to the idea that UFOs are real, that these things exist. And I started doing a lot of research around that to figure out what was going on. But it wasn't until 10 years after the sighting that I was introduced to the concept of channeling through I'd read the Seth books and things like that, but I'd never seen a live channel. But I was told that there was someone who was doing live channeling, and I went to see that.
Let me jump in really quick, if I may. How old were you in 1973?
In my 30s, early 30s. No, 20s, early 20s.
You can't be.
Yeah,
really?
I'm 69.
69. I'm 57. You look younger than me.
Channeling very good to me.
Apparently so. Okay. 1973, I would have been 10. You're 10 years. Okay. All right. So you're 20 years old, 1973.
23 or so, yeah.
And then 10 years later, now you're in your early 30s. Gotcha. Okay.
Right. That's when I found this channel. And I listened to the channelings and the entity coming through the channel for quite a while, and found the information very positive and very similar to what I had read in the Seth books. And so there was a lot of continuity there. And eventually the entity offered to teach a channeling class. Now, I didn't know that something like that could be taught. I just thought that if you were a channel, it was just something that sort of happened to you out of the blue.
Sure.
So I thought, okay, I didn't think I was going to become a channel. I just wanted to do more research and find out what it was all about, and how maybe was this connected to the UFO sightings, because that had been a strange path that led me to this. So I went into the class, which is about a 12-week course, and about halfway through, we were given guided meditations. And again, it wasn't necessarily expected anyone had to channel an entity, but it was about just getting in touch with, more of your higher mind, your creative self, whatever you wanted to do. But during one of the meditations, I experienced in a flash what I felt was like a memory coming back of having made an agreement to do this. Bashar was in my head. The image of him was there. The word Bashar was there. I understood in that instant that this was the product of an agreement I had made somewhere to do this. I understood the UFO had been shown to me by him on purpose to get me to start doing the research that would bring me to this point, so I would be more ready to undertake the channeling with him at that point. But the message was, now it's time to begin. Is this something you still want to do? Now, all of this literally just opened in my mind in a split second. It was just there. But I didn't say anything to anybody. But the moment this happened, the entity coming through the teacher stopped talking to the class and turned directly to me and said, there is an entity here for you right now, if you're ready to begin. And I happened to glance over. Behind me, there was one of the classmates somehow had picked up on the image of Bashar that I saw in my head, and she was actually sketching it on a piece of paper. So I immediately had two validations that this wasn't just my imagination or some side effect of the meditation or a hallucination. There was something real happening here because two other people had sensed it and responded to it in a way that was very concrete. So I said, okay, look, let's see where this goes. I'll try it. And I finished the rest of the class practicing this, letting Bashar and another entity, a female from his society, we called Anima, come through. I got good enough by the end of that class that the teacher asked me to co-channel the next class with him. And so I even had more practice. After that class was done, there was a woman doing the first doctoral thesis paper on the connection between psychology and channeling, and I became one of her subjects because she was looking for people to channel in her home where she could write her notes as I channeled to her friends. That started out one night a week with a few friends, and then there was double the friends the next week and triple the friends the next week, and eventually we had to start doing this 2 nights a week to accommodate everyone, and then in 2 houses a week. And then we had to start renting auditoriums and on and on and on. And I started getting invited to different cities, different countries. And here I am almost 38 years later, still doing this.
Now, I'm going to ask 2 questions, but one in the present tense. When the channel gets connected, okay, take us through that visually. What is it that happens? And the reason why I'm asking that today is that the same thing that was happening 38 years ago?
No. In the beginning, it was challenging to let that energy through. I wasn't used to it. It actually caused physical discomfort sometimes. I would get about 24 hours before I would have to channel, I would get like these incredibly painful cricks in my neck. I would feel like I was coming down with the flu. I have since learned that that's simply because there was resistance to the energy. It was unfamiliar. And I had to just sort of open up more and let the energy flow through me unimpeded and get all those, fear-based ideas and doubts and what have you out of the way. So while in the beginning it was a little halting, it took a while to get into the state. I would go through different emotional levels within myself, like a spectrum of going, through I would feel, the fear, and then I would feel anger, and then I would feel sadness, and then I would feel calm, and then I would feel joy, and then I would feel love. And it was like I had to boot up all these different levels within myself that it just happened automatically. My breathing changed automatically. I would take deeper, longer breaths less often. As a natural result, my body would go through kind of these different jerking motions to accommodate the energy flowing through me until it settled out. This lasted about 2 years. Then when I really finally got to the point of really just trusting it and letting it through, the energy started to buoy me up, like you're floating in the ocean and it kind of lifts you off the bottom of the ocean. And I started to feel like I was riding the wave of energy. And at that point, it tired me out at first, but at that point, it left me with energy. From that day forward, I actually had more energy and was more balanced when I came out than I was in the beginning. Now it's pretty automatic. The process is very natural to me. I can fall into it, easily within 30 to 60 seconds. I just know what it feels like, so I just know how to get there. In fact, sometimes on a rare occasion, I might see another channel at an event, I sometimes have to sort of force myself to stay out of that state because seeing another channel go in, it starts inducing that state in me. And I have to purposely hold myself out of it so I don't automatically go into it as well.
That's interesting. Have you, has Bashar jumped in at the wrong time?
No, never.
You're not at Thanksgiving dinner and...
No, it's totally under my agreement and my control as to when that happens. Now, there have been a couple of occasions when I've been asked to do a session, and I've actually gotten a blip or a download from Bashar saying, no, this is not appropriate. And I'll have to say, no, that's not the right time for it or whatever his reason is. but that's exceedingly rare, maybe less than 1% of the time of all the time I've been channeling. But it's almost always by arrangement, agreement. This is the date we're going to do this. And a lot of times in our own events, I'll get a download maybe a week to 2 weeks before that says, here's the title. This is the basic concept. Now, that's it. That's all I get. I won't know anything about what he's going to say until he actually says it on the date.
The download is bullet points.
The download is a couple of bullet points and a title, and that's it.
Wow.
But everything else just unravels on the date. You know, the full 2-hour session when he's giving a monologue or he's doing a meditation or he's answering questions, that's all on the spot, off the cuff, right there.
Now, back to my question. So, today, what do you see? I mean, what is going on in your forehead?
Like I said, it's sort of like for me falling into a very energetic, dynamic, meditative daydream. I can see images of things that are symbolic, abstract, sometimes literal or concrete. Time, like I said, is very collapsed. If I'm doing an hour session and I came out and somebody forced me to guess how much time has passed, feels like 20 minutes. I get energy. I get feelings. One way I sort of describe an analogy is I'm standing under a pounding waterfall. All this information and energy is just pounding through me. The people out there are getting the spray. So what I'm experiencing is so much more immersive. There's no reason for me to break from it. I could if I wanted to, but I'm having such a dynamic experience of feeling this exchange of energy, this communication on a different level, that it's so enjoyable and so freeing. One of the things I learned early on that was so different is that, just speaking as if Bashar is truly a separate entity for a moment, because obviously it's not something I can prove, but I get to feel what they feel like, and they don't have a split second of a shadow of a doubt about anything. The conviction, the certainty, the dynamic consciousness that they represent is just utterly different than anything I experience I did experience as myself as a normal human. Now, more of it's rubbing off on me. I'm able to get into the state myself, become more closely my version of him from time to time, especially when I'm talking like this, especially if I'm giving a lecture on these metaphysical topics. I can get into that state myself without necessarily having to go into the altered state to the point where he can come through. And that's part of the idea for the channel as well, is to become more yourself, to become more of a reflection of what he represents. So over 38 years, it's definitely made a huge difference in my life in terms of my emotional stability, my imagination, my consciousness, how I conduct myself, how I experience life, and how I deal with the challenges that come up.
Are you aware of the physical change in appearance that you go through in a matter of seconds?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of odd to see that on a video the first few times it happened. I mean, it's very strange. But yes, there are definitely physical changes. As I said, there are, brainwave changes. I definitely go into a different altered state. The voice inflections are different. The breathing is different. The movement is different. It's a different personality.
Yeah, physically, outwardly, your face, your body are completely different than the person I was just talking to, 60 seconds before that.
Yeah. It's an interesting phenomenon, but when you start identifying vibrationally with another personality, that's what happens. Your body has to represent as fully as possible a different person.
Do you see the audience in front of you?
No.
Are you aware of that, of their presence?
I'm aware there's an exchange going on with someone. I know if I'm, at an event, there's an audience there, or at a private session, there's, one person that Bashar is talking to. So I know that that's going on. But after a while, that just becomes, well, not inconsequential, because I can definitely sense from his point of view either the individual consciousness or the mass consciousness, but he perceives it as energy patterns. He doesn't see it literally. He sees it as almost like an orchestration of light and color and vibrations and different symbols that stand out. He says literally it's like another language. He's reading the language of our energy patterns as he comes through, so he can deliver the information he needs to deliver by looking more deeply within what we are as a being of consciousness.
Now, in these moments, some of them are very intense, and the audience is completely focused, and then Bashar is friggin' funny, right?
Oh, he's definitely got a sense of humor.
He's got a sense of humor, right?
Absolutely.
Does he understand when the audience goes from a change of deep concentration to laughing out loud?
Sure.
He's picking up on that, isn't he?
Oh, absolutely. And in many cases, he may actually be doing that intentionally so that he can open them up, they can relax, they can receive the information more easily. So he's very intentional. He doesn't do anything by any kind of accident. And in fact, some people have commented, and this has been true for 38 years, when he's speaking, you never hear or anything. It's just because what's happening is he's not, in a sense, thinking in the moment. The download of the answer that someone asks, when someone asks a question, the download of the answer is there totally instantly. It just takes a few moments for it to unspool through my brain as a translation into our language. So it's already there, and therefore he's not thinking about it in the moment. It just comes out without any glitches, without any hesitations, pauses, or anything like that.
Now, I know what it's like to keep up the energy level. I do this nearly every night of the week, 3 hours a night live.
Right.
I know what I'm like physically after the show, right? I'm done. I'm toast. Yeah, as you laugh. Where are you after 2 hours with Bashar?
Well, like I said, early on, the first couple of years, it was exhausting. But now I'm not expending the energy. I'm just riding the wave of energy. So when I come out, I'm actually more energized. I'm often hungry because something is being expended, but I don't really feel tired. I might feel disoriented for a few minutes because I'm coming back into my focus of reality. But I usually have more emotional balance and more energy when I immediately come out of a session.
Now, and back to the visualization and the connection. Mm-hmm. Today, it's pretty instantaneous. Do you, at that moment where you go from, I keep saying Darryl, right? But at that moment, is it like a is there you know that the plug? I'm picturing Ruth Buzzy, at the operator board plugging in a cable. Is it like that?
Coming in. There's several analogies I could use. I can feel the energy swelling within me. I can feel the disorientation happening where I'm unplugging from this reality focus. Sometimes it feels like the idea that wind is filling a sail. And when the session is over, it's like the wind has gone out of the sail. There are several ways I could describe it, but there's definitely an energetic shift. Absolutely.
Now, and for those out there, Ruth Buzzy, everybody.
dating her.
Yes, dating us. Darryl got it. And for those of you, she was an operator on, what was the TV show?
Laughing.
Yeah, Laughing. And she would plug that in one ringy dingy. Now, when we come back.
That was actually Lily Tomlin.
Was it Lily? What did Ruth Buzzy do?
Several other things.
It was Lily Tomlin. Now, when we come back, I want to talk about where we are today a little bit, and we're going to jump into some other things. But a year ago, we were at the very beginning of the pandemic. Of course, you and I were together with everybody else at the Conscious Life Expo. Mm-hmm. I had asked Bashar back then about the crazy times that we were facing and what 2020 was going to be like. And it wasn't, I guess I was asking for the audience back then, Can we get a positive answer? Is there hope? And Bashar said, you've got a long road in 2020 to ride out.
Yeah, in fact, at a December 2019 event, somebody asked about that again, and he was even more definitive. He literally said, 2020 is going to be nuts. So it's going to be like you're riding the rapids. But if you learn how to ride the rapids, you'll get downstream much faster. But be prepared. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be nuts. And I have to agree that it was.
Yes, it was definitely nuts. And I remember when I asked the question, and I said, I'm asking on behalf, Bashar, of everybody in this room. And they cheered because they wanted hope. And Bashar said, well, slow down here. 2020, you've got a long ways to go. And it's not always, Bashar isn't speaking or saying what everybody wants to hear. He's just laying it out there straight.
He's telling them what he's picking up from the collective consciousness and what it is we've decided we need to go through to have the reality that we really prefer ultimately.
Remarkable. Yes, it is. It is. Let's take our break right here. This is Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Darryl Anka. We've got a lot to discuss, and I do want to talk about 2021 when we return. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Email is jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. Stay with us. I see everybody's... Yeah, no, it's not Ruth Buzzy. It is Lily Tomlin. I see what's going on. I'll be right back.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Do you want to be an official Fader Not? Of course you do. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. Just go to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com. Fader Knots. When you think about the future of our country and where we're headed, do you wonder about the food supply? I do. Disruptions in the food supply chain could be disastrous, and they usually occur with little warning. That's why the smartest thing you can do today is to stockpile emergency food, water, and other essentials. I personally recommend My Patriot Supply. They're the nation's largest emergency preparedness company, serving millions of customers for more than a decade. In fact, they're the only source my family trusts for our preparedness plan. You should too. Right now, save 20% off a full 4-week supply of delicious meals that provide 2,000 calories a day. Saving 20% helps too, doesn't it? Especially now. So go to preparewithjimmy.com and get ready. That's preparewithjimmy.com. There's no time to lose. Do it now.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA. KGRARadio.com.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back. Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Darryl Anka is with us. More with Darryl in just a second. Right now, I want to talk to you about Virtual Shield. Virtual Shield VPN, because just recently, the data of 2.3 million users was leaked after a hacker found a backdoor into the popular dating site Meet Mindful. The personal data included names, Facebook IDs, emails, birth dates, and location data. And what's that? You can't. Oh, Darryl. I don't know what happened. Oh, there we go. Darryl just held up a Post-it to me. Virtual Shield VPN. And the data that was uploaded to a public hacking forum for anybody to download. Now, if you want to prevent attacks like this from happening to you, I highly recommend Virtual Shield VPN. Virtual Shield will completely encrypt your Wi-Fi connection, blocking hackers and everyone else from accessing your data. It's the only VPN that I use here in both of our studios. Now, all you have to do is go to the link right now below in the video description box or virtualshield.com/fade to black. And when you do that, you will get Virtual Shield for 50% off today. It's that simple. Get Virtual Shield VPN now. Now, Darryl, 2020, what did you do with your events throughout the year? How did that change?
Well, it did exactly this. We learned how to use Zoom and Skype more efficiently, like everyone else, which actually worked really well for us because we could actually reach a lot more people who weren't able to travel for one reason or another, whether from COVID or simply they didn't have the wherewithal to get on a plane. So it's actually allowed us to expand our reach to a lot more people, include a lot more people in the events. So it's been really working out for us in that context. Not that it was a great reason for COVID to come along, but nevertheless, it's worked out in terms of our ability to get the information out farther.
Now, what did Bashar have to say about 2020?
Well, like I said, he did initially say it was going to be nuts. But basically, he's talking about the idea of what he called in one event that we're going through the eye of the needle. It's like we are going through this passage that's very narrow, and we can only take what is really true for us through it. We have to let go of all of the fear-based beliefs and the things that are not in alignment with who we truly are at our core. So this is a very challenging time for us to really strip and streamline ourselves down to our essential being, because that's what we really need to be on the other side of this passageway, which he basically stretched from 2020 to 2023. So just as we're facing right now, obviously, we're dealing with a lot of ideas and a lot of contradictions and a lot of opposing points of view. But to him, this is what's happening. This is the splitting prism, as he calls it. This is the splitting into different parallel realities. And right now, we are apparently able to sort of see some of the different realities. But he's saying just because you can see something that's vibrationally incompatible with what you prefer doesn't mean you're actually in that reality anymore. He's likened it to looking through a glass wall. And you can see people making choices that are simply not what you prefer, but that doesn't mean they have the power to affect you because they can't get to you through the glass wall. So he's saying this is a real time of getting on the train, so to speak, on the track that you really prefer to be on, because the tracks are getting farther and farther apart. And eventually, in the years to come, we're only going to be able to experience whatever is reflective of the track we're on. And ultimately, we will no longer be experiencing individuals or realities or the version of Earth that is simply not compatible with who we prefer to be. So this is the time to make decisions, to make choices that are really true for us, to stay true to ourselves. The most recent event he did was actually labeled "Let's Get High." And what he meant by that was he literally spelled out the word high, H period, I period, G period, H period. And as he described, he said, this is what we need to get through this time in the most effortless way. And what those letters stood for are, he said, it's like a formula, an energy formula. You've got to stay in this state if you want to move smoothly through this passage of the eye of the needle in the best possible way. And the state translates to H, honesty within ourselves, I, integrity, remaining true to ourselves, G, gratitude and appreciation for who and what we are experiencing. And last but not least, the last H is humility. Stay grounded through this whole thing. So the honesty, the integrity, the gratitude, and humility is a combination energy formula that he's giving us to act as kind of a vibrational atmosphere, a vibrational reality that we can immerse ourselves in to slide more smoothly through this passage of the eye of the needle when we really need, more importantly than ever, to make choices that are really, really true to who we are and not operate out of fear.
It sounds like, I don't want to put words in Bashar's mouth, but he is suggesting that we had to go through 2020 to recognize and understand where we were and how we move forward.
In some senses. In some sense, it's like saying we didn't really have to ultimately, but the choices we made that were fear-based choices made it necessary to do that because we didn't take a more positive path.
Did Bashar comment on how easy we fell for it? Right? We went there really quick with the fear, with the divisiveness, with the hate, and with the anger.
Right. So this is, he says, the biggest positive thing that could have happened, because whatever it is that has happened has exposed the depth and the range of the fear and anger within many, many people. And now we have something to deal with. Now things are out on the table. Nothing is hidden in that sense anymore. We know what we're dealing with, and we know what needs to be healed. So this is the time of really looking deep within ourselves, honestly, with integrity and gratitude and humility, and really having the discussions and making the changes in our lives and letting go of the beliefs that don't serve us anymore. And really allowing ourselves to move forward in the direction of a reality that would really ultimately allow us to experience a much more positive Earth than what we've been experiencing right now, because this is the consequence of all the choices that we've made that were fear-based. So now that we can see them more clearly, we can decide what to do about them, how to act more positively, how to make better choices. That's what this time is all about.
And how about you personally? Did it scare the crap out of you to go to the edge of the cliff and take a peek at how bad things could actually get?
It's concerning. But again, because I understand what Bashar is saying and how the reality is structured, I understand that that's a reality unto itself. It's another version of Earth that simply isn't one that I'm vibrationally compatible with. So while I have compassion and concern for people that are making fear-based choices and taking themselves to that edge, at the same time, I know they always have the ability and the freedom to choose something else if they really get a handle on who and what they are and what they're choosing to do. Not that they have to, because ultimately Bashar is saying, look, we're all indestructible, eternal spirit beings. In a sense, there's no hurry. You can make your choices at any time, whether it's in this life or not. But again, the idea is we're attempting to make choices that allow us to become better examples, that give other people the ability to know they can make better choices as well. But we also have to know that we have to give them the freedom to make the choices of whatever path they're on. It may not be their path to choose the same things that someone else is choosing. We don't know. We can't know their lives. But we're giving an opportunity by being ourselves as truly as we possibly can to act as living examples of what other people can choose as well. And that's how we help, by demonstration, by example. But no, it doesn't really scare me in that sense, because I understand Bashar's principle one of the main principles he talks about, which is it doesn't really matter what happens. It only matters what we do with what happens that makes the difference in our lives. So if we know that no matter what happens, whether it's generated negatively or positively, if we understand that by remaining in a positive state, we will always be able to figure out how to get a benefit out of it, then it doesn't really matter what happens. It only matters what we do with it.
Well, it sounds like, and I'm in agreement with this, that uncertainty is what causes panic, right? Not knowing what the future is, and there isn't a plan, and there's just such confusion. But knowing that there is a goal and there is something in front of us, that will help calm everybody down and start to release the fear factor.
Perhaps. I would take it a step further and say it's not so much that there's a goal, but that there's a state of being that works for any situation. And that state of being is to stay honest with integrity and gratitude and humility and love yourself, and know that by staying in a positive state, you will always, this is just how it works. This is, as you said in the beginning, this is just physics. Whatever vibration you are is what you're going to experience, how you're going to experience something, no matter how it was generated, no matter what anyone else's opinion is. If you stay in a positive state, you will always be able to perceive a way through that is positive. You will always be able to get a benefit from the lesson, from the challenge. If you go into a negative state, that's all you can see. You cannot perceive what you're not the vibration of. This is just physics. As Einstein himself said, you cannot solve a problem from the same level that the problem was created in. You have to go to a higher level to see the solution. So by staying on the higher vibration in the higher state, you get the inspirations, you get the synchronicities, you get the observations. You are able to make connections that you wouldn't necessarily be able to make in a negative state, in a fear-based state. And by making those more positive connections and insights, you will be able to get a benefit out of the situation in some way, shape, or form.
Bashar has always talked about, and many others, about a global solution where we can come together as earthlings, as one. 2020 affected the entire planet. This is there were no exceptions. Is this an example of what has been talked about for so long?
I think it's the beginning of it. And again, of course, it played itself out through a fear-based scenario, but nevertheless, it's connecting us globally in ways that have never happened before. And that can be used by staying in a positive state as the beginning of something that can turn into a positive global experience if we're willing to go down that path.
Somebody just popped this up in Twitter, and we kind of blew past this earlier. So I just want to address this.
Sure.
The craft back in 1973 was Bashar in that craft.
Yes.
And
it's Scoutcraft.
Scoutcraft. But Bashar today is where?
Over Sedona. Now, in his craft. Now, this is a tricky question because time for them is not what it is for us. So he can be, quote unquote, in his Scoutcraft over Sedona, and at the same time, he can slip in and out of our reality in a way that we wouldn't notice. Because time for them is not what it is for us. They come from another parallel reality. They operate on a completely different frequency. They're closer to spirit than they are to physical, even though they have physical bodies. So there are many things they can do to manipulate space and time that we don't do yet, at least not consciously. So his Scoutcraft over the vortex of Sedona is helping to balance the energy in that particular vortex, which is actually connected to many other vortices throughout the southwestern United States. And other ships are doing this over other vortices around the planet, both from his and other civilizations, helping to balance the energy, helping us go through a smoother transition than otherwise we might have. Even as rocky as this seems, it could be worse. So, and he's also said his ship is kind of a barometer. The higher it is, the farther away we are from open contact. The closer it is, the closer we are to open contact. And he has said that the window of open contact begins in 2023 now with the recent changes that have happened. It's actually happening sooner. So when his ship is in different positions, different heights, it's like a barometer of how close or far we are from beginning open contact with his and other extraterrestrial species.
Now, I've asked you this before, and the concept of time is in play here, but help the audience understand, how old is Bashar?
It depends on when you're talking to him, because his consciousness can slip up and down what we would call his life's timeline. There may be a conversation you have with him when he's 50. The next conversation, or even the next moment in the same conversation, you could be talking to him when he's 150. Their average lifespans are about 300 years as we count time, although he has said there are some in their society that are older, even as many as 1,000 years. So it just depends on who he needs to be, what age he needs to be, to connect to whatever information he needs to connect to answer the question that's being asked.
Now, again, this was brought up to me because I'm not doing my job correctly.
You're doing brilliant.
We blew past this earlier, too, as well. During the 12-week class and the day of the dual confirmation, somebody was sketching Bashar, or yes, what you were seeing. What did you see? What does Bashar look like?
Well, he has described him and his people as what we typically refer to as hybrids, which is like a 50-50 blend between the beings we call the Greys and an Earth human. So they're diminutive. They're about 5 feet tall. They're relatively thin. Their skin is very pale. Their eyes are much larger than ours. His tend to be gray, but the pupils are so big that they almost look black. Males have no hair. The heads are a little bit larger than ours. The ears are smaller. The mouth is smaller. The nose is smaller. So they're what has become recently the typical representation of the idea of a hybrid. The females have hair. It tends to be white, although he said there are some exceptions depending upon the DNA mix of the hybridization.
Does Bashar take walks on terra firma?
He has not set foot on the planet at this point. The only thing that has happened physically is he has come close in his ship. But other beings from his society and other societies have stepped foot on the Earth, including, according to him, some of the hybrid children that will eventually come to live on Earth.
Is this some of the encounters that have been described so much in the past with others? Has this been Bashar and his shipmates, or is it another ET race that has nothing to do with Bashar?
There are several hybrid races, according to him, and in some of the encounters may have been some of these other hybrids. Some of them may have been representative of his people. They haven't been with him personally. And there have been obviously encounters reported with other beings altogether of different descriptions. A lot of encounters obviously with the Greys because of the whole what's called alien abduction experience, which he calls the hybridization agenda. So there have been different encounters with different kinds of beings.
What about communication with either the United States government or other world governments? Does that happen?
I believe he has said it has happened briefly on a few occasions.
Really?
But not to necessarily any great extent, again, because of the fear factor in humans about what that means in terms of the changes that would have to happen in our society, the letting go of power that would have to happen in organizations of authority to admit that these other beings are out there. But again, this is a process that he's gone through different times because he is, in his society, what he calls a first contact specialist. He's made first contact with many different civilizations. And this methodology of simply making a connection in a way that allows him to dispense information first to see what the inhabitants of the planet will do with that information, let him know how willing and open we are to actually go further and have physical open contact eventually. So this is contact for him. It's the beginning of contact. It's the way his people do it. And ideally, if we can raise our vibration and become a little bit more vibrationally compatible with him and his people or other ETs like him, then we can eventually come face to face.
How does he feel about the last 3 years with the discussion in mass media about contact and about UFOs and UAPs? Tucker Carlson on Fox News, once a night doing a UAP update.
Yeah, he sees it as a positive sign of the beginnings of what's called disclosure. It's slow, but it's a beginning. So the fact that people are talking about it, the fact that pretty recently, the military admitted that there are real videos of real UFOs. People are having the discussions. There are more and more people that are open to it. It's kind of the biggest secret that everyone knows.
Right.
It's just a matter of everyone starting to really be okay talking about it publicly and getting beyond the programs of ridicule and the programs of punishment, when people report these things and they're put down. But there's, several programs that have been out now that have been capable of getting a hold of military people who are good, credible witnesses to things and validating those stories. So, yeah, from Bashar's point of view, it's the slow beginning of disclosure that can certainly lead to open contact if we keep moving in that direction.
Does Bashar ever get tired of hearing disclosure questions?
No, he never gets tired of anything.
It must be relentless, right?
Yeah, but it's always new to him, and he understands that different people need to hear it in different ways. And it's, again, all part of building up the consensus of open contact and disclosure.
Now, what about those 3 videos that have been played over and over again? Did Bashar say, hey, that's cool, but it's not me?
Oh, it's definitely not him.
Right.
But it's definitely other societies. They're definitely real, according to him.
Oh, so he did comment on the videos.
On the ones from the jet
from
cameras,
the Navy, yes.
From the Navy, yes. He said those are real.
No kidding.
Yeah.
And you personally, when I'm not talking about Bashar, Darryl, when you saw those 3 videos, what went through your mind?
It's about time. That's in my mind. It's about time we had an official say these are real.
And I like your laughter when I asked that question because, yeah, exactly. The audience can't see you. I can. So you saw people are going to see what they're going to see in any video.
Sure.
But for you, that was a first step into confirmation.
It was significant. Yes, I believe so.
And
when you have officials that have been denying the existence of UFOs for decades suddenly say, okay, these are real. Now, we're not going to say what they are, but they're real. So that's a step in the positive direction of contact.
Now, why do you think, Darryl, that Tucker Carlson, for instance, but we've also got the Senate Intelligence Committee involved now in the UAP task force.
Sure.
It's a military fear-based thing. Why doesn't Tucker reach out to you? Why don't they get into other elements of this community with people that have had experiences and not?
They may ultimately, but I think, the one thing I've noticed in the UFO community is that goes in phases as well. For a lot of people, it's one thing to have a physical sighting of a physical craft doing physical things. It's quite another for a lot of people to stretch into the idea that aliens are communicating with us telepathically. It's a very different thing in their perspective. And so I understand that. So that's why I'm saying, look, I can't prove that Bashar is real. I can't prove this is anything but another aspect of my own consciousness. But eventually I won't have to, because if and when we actually have open contact, everyone will have all the concrete proof they need that beings have been in touch with us in a variety of ways. One of the things I say in the First Contact documentary that always is kind of funny to me is a lot of scientists said, when we encounter aliens, they're going to be very different. They're going to be very alien, and they're going to do things in a very alien way. But then when you talk to them about, well, how do you think aliens are going to communicate with us? They go, oh, well, of course they're going to send signals by radio. Well, that's a very human, very old-fashioned way of looking at it. And so to me, and from Bashar's perspective, obviously, the idea of making a connection with an inhabitant of a planet and getting them in some way, shape, or form to link in vibrationally so that they can communicate at arm's length so that we're paying attention to the information and not the messenger, gives us the opportunity to really, at our own pace, decide whether this is real or not. And they take note of that. They take note of how much we absorb. So they're using us to tell them when we're ready. And so, it's a big stretch for some people, though, to go from UFOs to channeling. In some people's minds, it gives less credibility to the idea of the UFO phenomenon. And again, I understand that because it is a bit of a stretch. It was a stretch for me. And if it was a stretch for me, I know it's a stretch for a lot of people. But eventually, I think, as we demystify these things, as we understand how things work, as I explained about telepathy, and it starts to enter more the realm of grounded reality and physics, I think more people will come over and they'll get it and they'll see, okay, there may actually be a reality to this.
Is it Bashar's job to be here? Oh, before you answer, I've got 2 minutes. If you and I went to another planet and observed it and they were acting like we are on Earth, that's not a place I want to hang out unless it was my job, right?
Well, he's the first contact specialist. That's what I'm saying. That's his job. So this is how he makes contact. And he wouldn't be doing it if he didn't recognize energetically that there was a potential for it. He wouldn't waste his time if he didn't think it was possible ultimately to make contact with us and expand their family as well as our family into the galaxy.
Is he listening right now? Do you know?
He's aware that this is going on. I don't know if he's paying strict attention because he doesn't really have to, unless it's something that he automatically and synchronistically connects into that is valid for him to know.
He's laughing. That's what he's doing. He's laughing. He's laughing for sure. This is Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, the one and only Darryl Anka. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Now, when we come back, I want to talk consciousness. That's what we'll do next. Darryl Anka is with us. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hi, everybody. This is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station. Salt Lake City, Utah. Van Buren, Arkansas.
Why is it we're not very good with our health regimen until it's too late? We don't put oil in the car until the engine blows up. When the body's out of balance, your health is not so good. Give your body some love. Log on to GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com. Try our Life Change Tea, which cleanses you from harmful intruders. A clean colon is one of the ways to bring the body in balance. We also carry organic supplements to help you get where you need to go. So do your body a favor. Log on to GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com. You can even visit our sales page to save some dough. Does anybody call money dough anymore? Anyway, if you're looking for short, helpful health tips, go to YouTube and punch in Health Matters Now. That's Health Matters Now. So, log on to GetTheT.com, shop, get balance. You'll be glad you did. That's GetTheT.com.
Your contact for current news and trending topics. KGRARadio.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I only drink Fade to Black blend coffee from River Moon. Just click on the River Moon Coffee banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Promo code F2B Blend.
This is the only way forward.
Fade to Black. Make contact. KGRARadio.com.
When you're in the house for longer periods of time, you can see them flying or running across the floor. Ooh, yuck. They're unhealthy, gross, and disgusting. Bugs. I loathe bugs. We keep a clean home, but occasionally bugs show up. Well, I found something that is tougher than bugs. Orange Guard. On contact, it kills hidden bugs, including ants, roaches, and fleas. Plus, Orange Guard is a residual repellent. All of the ingredients of Orange Guard are on the FDA generally recognized as safe list. Orange Guard may be used around food, humans, and pets. It comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Orange Guard. Available at orangeguard.com, Whole Foods, and Ace Hardware.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why fade to black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. Great conversation tonight with Darryl Anka. Always enjoy when he's on the show with us. And Conscious Life Expo is coming up February 19th through the 21st. We have links for the Conscious Life Expo over at jimmychurchradio.com. Darryl Anka, of course, is featured. And go and get your tickets, the schedule, information, and, of course, the virtual vendor area where you can have your very own avatar. Go and check that out at consciouslifeexpo.com. Darryl, before we move on, I've got two quick questions that have come in from the audience. Sure. The first one is Bashar single? Asking for a friend.
I don't know at this particular moment. I know he has at least one child, but relationships on their planet are not like they are on ours. So at this particular moment, I have no idea.
Breaking hearts. That's what Bashar is all about. Now, could you please ask Darryl about Bashar's statement regarding the end of channelings through Darryl by the end of 2023? This was stated in one of Bashar's latest transmissions.
Actually, no, that's a misinterpretation. Many people have thought he said he would stop. What he did say is at the end of 2023, the delivery of the information would change. He may not necessarily come through as regularly, and he may be talking about different things that are now at the end of 2023 going to be more in alignment with the idea of information that's necessary to move us closer to open contact.
Very cool. Okay, last question. Have you channeled other entities, and could you channel Bigfoot?
I have channeled other entities now and then. It's relatively rare, although, like I said earlier, I did start out when Bashar came through. I didn't channel him as often as I channeled a female from his society. Her energy was just a little easier for me to take at first. Once I got used to her, then he came in and became the main entity that I was dealing with, and he's 99.9% of the time. On occasion, there have been other entities for a variety of purposes. I have never channeled Bigfoot. I know that Bashar has talked about the Sasquatch as being an intelligent species. It is possible for someone to do so, but I personally have never done so.
Okay, consciousness. The big question, and early on we discussed physics a few times tonight, and in the world of physics, in the hard sciences, consciousness comes up, and there's the line in the sand, the wall of denial, right? They don't want to talk about it, and it's just something that it's really weird. You have philosophy, you have physics, one shall not mix the two. How does Bashar define consciousness?
Well, first of all, I think just to address what you just said before I go on to his take, I think there are a few quantum physicists who are beginning to realize that consciousness has to be part of the equation in order to explain certain phenomena in a certain way. So I do think they're starting to approach that idea. Bashar has said, now let's see, I'm trying to say this in a way that doesn't get too metaphysically complex, because this involves an understanding of different levels of existence. Let's say you have a one single unbroken thing that everything is made out of. Let's just call it the one. It would be homogeneous. It would be unbroken. It would have no self-awareness because there is nothing else to compare itself to. And that's what Bashar is saying, where consciousness comes from. There's got to be a part of the one that he calls the all that is aware or has a reflection of something other than itself. By having a reflection of something other than yourself, you suddenly have self-awareness. Without a reflection of something other than you, there is no self-awareness. The homogeneous one has no experience, no self-awareness, because there is nothing else to compare itself to. So only by reflection do you get self-awareness, and that creates consciousness.
Universally universal, right? Everything.
Yes. Everything is made of that consciousness, in a sense. We are all made of, if you want to use the word God, goddess, all that is, whatever you want to say. It doesn't care what you call it. We're all reflections of it. It's sort of, Bashar sort of used the analogy of, if you're standing in the center of a hall of mirrors, you see all these different reflections around you at different angles. Now, just imagine that every single one of those reflections is self-aware. That's what existence is. It's the reflection of every part of existence in every part of existence. It's just an infinite array of reflections. And because there is always something other than self, you are self-aware.
Is that where the communication comes from?
You mean the Bashar communication?
Any communication, yes.
Well, a communication is simply one reflection recognizing the existence of another reflection in a certain way, and opening up to the connection between the two, because they're just different reflections of the same thing. But yes, you become aware of something other than yourself, and if you have the intention to open up to that, you can take on some of the vibrational information or understanding or reflections of that other self, so to speak, in a different form, in a different aspect, in a different perspective.
How then do we become individuals?
Well, because again, you have that reflection. So in other words, like you're looking at a reflection in a mirror. You know that's not you over there. The only way that you know you're you is because you know that's not you over there. You're here. That's how you're an individual. You recognize the difference between the reflections. That's what I was originally attempting to get at, is you have a sense of individual self because you have a reflection of something other than yourself.
Does that self stay whole and complete after your body shuts down?
Yes, because everything is an expression of that unique reflection. So you may change form. You may become physical, non-physical, other dimensional, what have you, but you are always going to experience everything from your perspective because you're a unique reflection of existence, of creation. So even when people say, well, I'm going to blend back in with the cosmos, blend back in with God, you're still going to experience not the loss of yourself, you're going to experience yourself as God from your perspective. And everyone will experience the same. So even the idea of ultimately blending back in with all that isn't the end. There are still an infinite number of all that is perspectives, and on and on and on and on and on.
Right. What about your memories? Not only past lives, but in the current life, does that, I don't want to say blend in, but I like the way you put that. Does that stay whole and complete?
I think all information is always accessible from everywhere because information is embedded within existence itself. It's just patterns of energy. So anytime you want to access it, all you have to do is match the frequency of that information, and that information will be there for you because it's everywhere. It's holographic.
Information never dies, right?
Right.
Information always continues.
It's always here and now.
Right.
Remember, time's an illusion. So you can, if you're more in the present, you can access whatever information you need to if you match the frequency of that information.
Okay, so my consciousness is out there blending, rolls past a black hole, gets sucked into it, right? Information is still there? Am I still there?
Yes, I think in recent, from my understanding, in recent calculations, I guess I'll just use that word, I think a lot of physicists have begun to realize that information is not lost in a black hole. It's embedded in the event horizon. And in fact, Bashar's actually talked about a civilization that is so different and so other dimensional, they can actually extract information from the surface of a black hole, from the event horizon of a black hole.
And so many, when we, I want to talk about disclosure and consciousness now, so many out there are ready for this. I think that consciousness is at a point on this planet where we are okay with it. I don't see panic in the streets, Darryl. I don't see.
No, not in general. I agree with that. Although on an individual basis, sometimes a person who thinks they're ready for that isn't ready for that. And Bashar has demonstrated that 3 times, where people say, look, I'm ready to meet you. Name the place, name the time, and I'll be there. And he's on 3 occasions said, okay, here's where you meet me, and here's the time. In every single case, as soon as someone either perceived that his ship was coming down or that his energy was approaching, they ran like scared rabbits. The reason for that is almost out of our control. We have a physical mind that has a fight or flight response when it perceives something that it views as other than you, that's so different and so powerful, you almost look at it in a predatory prey kind of perspective. And if your physical mind suddenly goes into survival mode because the energy you're experiencing coming at you is so much bigger than you, you run. So he said, so I've shown you 3 times that I understand that most of you think you're ready, but you're not ready because we've done this a lot of times and we know what we're doing. So trust our timing. We're getting you prepared. You will be ready when the time comes, but that's not today.
I have, so many have, I'm not the only one, but I've gone out with large groups of people. I've done sky watches and night watches and saw some incredible things. And sure. I believe, Darryl, I believe that it was my frame of mind. It was my consciousness, right? It's not coincidence that this is happening with me and my friends, and it's fun and we enjoy it. Is that a consciousness connection happening at that moment?
Absolutely. And first, remember, when I talk about what I just said, it depends on who you're dealing with. There are different extraterrestrial races that exist at different vibrational levels. Some are probably relatively easy to interact with. Some are probably not. But at the same time, it's also a very different thing to see a ship than it is to have an alien staring you in the face from 2 feet away.
Yes, yes, it is.
Yes. So because even when I saw the ship, my whole reality was altered. It was very disorienting because you're facing something, it doesn't matter how many times you might imagine it. When you actually see something solid, it's different. We treat it differently. And it changed everything in my life to actually finally see something that I thought, well, yeah, sure, they could exist. But when it's absolutely incontrovertible in front of your face, it's a very different energy that passes through you and everything changes.
I think about, I've had one insane, I'm not going to get into the details, daytime sighting with about 20 or 30 friends. We all saw it together. Lasted about 15 seconds. It was a giant ship, but it phased out after about 15 seconds. Clear blue sky, giant, crazy.
Right.
I think about that every day.
Right. Well, that makes a difference in your psychology and in your neural net and how you process things. And that's part of why sometimes they deliberately show us these things, to see how we respond to it and to get us used to the idea. I mean, look at the Phoenix Lights incident in 97, I believe, where you have a mile-wide boomerang-shaped ship passing over an entire state, seen by over 10,000 witnesses. You heard almost nothing on the news, or what you heard debunked it as flares or airplanes. And yet this thing was so close, people could really see it, over their houses and things like that, very, very close. So those kinds of things are done to see what our response is, to see if we're ready. And when you have that kind of an incident happen and it's barely mentioned in the news, we're not ready. So, but it gets us used to the idea. And seeing more of those things, like I said, it's the biggest secret everyone knows. Now it's kind of like, by the time it happens, it'll be, oh yeah, sure, of course, there's aliens and there's one there. Who cares?
I often use the analogy, going back to the 405 freeway. We're so acclimated these days that if a craft landed on the 405 during rush hour, you're going to have about 15 minutes of panic. And at minute 16, it's going to be, get that thing off the freeway. I got to get home.
So I think that's what they're waiting for. They're waiting for minute 16.
Yeah, they are waiting for minute 16. Now, you just brought up a really good point. If we're out there calling these crafts in and in a great mood and consciously reaching out, do we need to be careful about what we are actually doing? Is there a possibility of something negative arriving?
I wouldn't put it in that terminology. There may be something challenging arriving. But I think in terms of what's happening between us and various extraterrestrial beings that are connected or in any way, shape, or form observing this planet, I don't think we really have to worry about that too much. There are some beings that are not necessarily like us. They don't think like us. They don't feel like us. Some of them can seem somewhat scary. I don't think there is too much that actually intends us harm. And some of that is also because the ones that are watching out for us probably have something to do with also keeping those at bay if they exist. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. I think just stay in a positive intention. And remember, it's the level of vibration you're on that attracts the experience you have. So by staying in that high vibration of love and acceptance and allowance and openness, not in a naive way, but really in a true way, I don't believe you're going to be really capable of attracting something dangerous or negative to you.
Is Bashar running point, for situations like that?
For his people on this planet, yes, because he's the contact specialist for Earth from his civilization. Not that there aren't other Sasani beings that are interacting or have interacted with us in the past, but right now, from his civilization, he's the main first contact specialist for Earth.
Now, I can only think of this in a frame of mind as an Earthling, but is there a galactic police force? There's good and bad everywhere in the universe, right? Positive, negative. That's it. Hot, cold, duality.
Yes.
Good and evil. Is there a police force running?
From his perspective, he's never mentioned it like that. He has definitely said that there are, alliances. There are interstellar alliances. There are organizational bodies that help amplify the positive synchronicity in a civilization. So I'm not sure they need police in the same way we think of it, because they operate, at least a lot of them do, on such a high vibration that something negative can't even perceive them. Can't be attracted to them.
Right. And one last subject that, and this comes up now nearly every night on the show, where I will get this question, well, what about abductions? What is going on? And we have probably millions of accounts of this right now in real time. What's his comments on abductions?
I can give you the cliff notes of Bashar's take on the entire abduction phenomenon. Okay. The beings known as the Greys, who seem to be the ones that are predominantly perceived and experienced in the abduction phenomenon. From his point of view, are a race of mutated humans from a parallel Earth who destroyed their planet and mutated themselves into their present form to survive. But they are dying out, and they needed to tunnel into a parallel reality where viable human DNA still existed, such as ours, in order to use that DNA to replenish and create hybrids that would save their society. The end result of that is that these hybrids are also helping us to save our society, because they recognize that we may be going down the same path that the Greys went down in destroying their version of Earth when they were human. So the information that Bashar is sharing has to do with the idea that the hybridization agenda is not only part of the Greys society's survival, but part of our evolutionary path to become what he calls the sixth hybrid race, which will allow us to enter an age of more positive and peaceful existence on a version of Earth that will survive and will thrive.
Is the abduction, are the Greys asexual?
At this point, yes, because again, they lost because of what happened to them, what they did to themselves. They lost their ability to reproduce, which is why they were dying out. And so they took the extra step of turning themselves into a hive mind in order to undertake what was essentially a monumental task of hybridization to save their society. I know that many of the abductions are traumatic. I'm not excusing any of that. It's just that, they've basically bred emotionality out of their consciousness to the point where they had to do that to get the task done. The irony is that they gave up emotionality in order to reclaim emotionality in a truly human way, which is what's happening with the hybrids, which is why Bashar as a hybrid is so compassionate toward us. So I understand that many of these things are traumatic, but Bashar has said, look, these are the product of agreements made on a different level. It's one of the reasons why in many of the abduction encounters, when the Greys do decide to say something to the abductees, a lot of what they say, a lot of what's been reported by abductees is one of the common lines from the Greys is, "You are us." In a sense, they mean that quite literally, because they're almost like counterparts from a parallel reality that used to be human. So we have made an agreement to help them. Just because we don't physically remember that agreement doesn't mean we didn't make it. And the other thing is, if we were better prepared to understand what's happening, it wouldn't be something that would mostly be experienced in a traumatic way. We could ask and can ask in this day and age for more awareness, more equality, more of an experience on our terms. And it has been given to many people who are willing to not go into fear, but are willing to go, okay, I understand that this is important. There's something happening. I am taking my responsibility for my part in having co-created this. And so I am putting out there that I'm willing to have this experience, but I am asking for it more on my terms, so I'm not freaked out, so I'm not hurt, all these kinds of things. So this can be done and has been experienced by some people in the encounters. It's a very long, deep, broad story that, I don't do justice to by encapsulating it here in 5 minutes. But essentially, it's part of our evolutionary agreement to become something even more human than we are at this point.
Why is it that it seems with the hybrid program, and I've spoke to so many, that it's women involved in the program? I don't hear too many abduction encounters from men talking about it exists, but I'm saying the ratio seems to be very skewed.
Well, remember that the women are the ones that carry the child.
But there would be a female race out there too as well that could carry their...
Yes, but they don't often do it that way, at least not in the beginning. They allow the human females to carry the child up to a certain point. They then, in many cases, actually take the child and they put them in incubation chambers, not in another being.
I think that's sexual discrimination.
it may be, but I guess in their technology, that's what they came up with as the most efficient thing, unfortunately.
Darryl, thank you so much, man. What a great conversation tonight. How are you going to be doing events throughout 2021? Is that going to change, and where can everybody get information on that?
They can go to bashar.org, BASHAR.org, to see everything that we're going to be doing as Zoom events for private sessions and what have you. At this point, I'm almost pretty much already booked up through 2021 for privates, but we will be having group events where people can ask questions and so on and so forth. So please go to bashar.org. They can also find a connection and a link there to the First Contact documentary, or they can go to Zia Films.com, ZIAFilms.com, which is my production company with my wife Erica, to make a link there to that and any other projects that we're doing. And I think I'll be, and the Conscious Life Expo, I believe I'm on the Sunday, the 21st, from 11:30 to 1 LA time.
And I believe I'm introducing you. I'm looking forward to it.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
fantastic.
Absolutely. And we're neighbors. So yeah. I've got to get you to come over for one of our fantastic dinners over at the house and hang out. It would be a lot of fun.
After COVID.
I'll talk to you. Darryl Anka. Thank you so much, Darryl. Enjoy the rest of your night, man.
I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
The absolute best. All of Darryl's links that he just mentioned, Bashar.org, whatisfirstcontact.com, Zia Films, and Darryl Anka are all over at jimmychurchradio.com. I'm going to take a quick break right here. I'll open up the phones. We'll go to open lines next. Thank you so much, Darryl. Have a great night.
You too. Thank you. Bye-bye.
The best. I am your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. I'm going to take a quick break. The number is 747-228-2051. I'll be right back. Stay with us.
Here, and you are listening to my boy Jimmy Church on jimmychurchradio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I take Life Change Tea supplements every single day. It's what I do. Click on their banner at jimmychurchradio.com. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today.
Hello, my name is Billy Carson, and I am a best-selling author and the founder of ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Together with my team, we have built an all-new conscious streaming TV platform designed with every family member in mind. If you have ever wanted to travel the world and attend lectures and workshops from your favorite speakers but weren't able to, look no further. ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. There are dozens of workshops and lectures from speakers you know and love. We have also included amazing categories to assure that your consciousness is entertained and elevating on a daily basis. Amazing interviews, ancient history, ascension knowledge, wisdom teachings, documentaries, conspiracies, mysteries, health and fitness, conscious cooking, meditations, finance, yoga, and so much more. To start your free trial on any mobile device or computer, surf to ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. That's Forbidden Knowledge with the number 4, ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Again, visit ForbiddenKnowledge.tv today.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio?
You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Darryl Anka. Man is smart. Darryl Anka. All of his links are over at JimmyChurchRadio.com, Bashar.org, and whatisfirstcontact.com, Zia Films. Everything is over at JimmyChurchRadio.com, and you can check out everything that he's going to be doing in 2021. It would be awesome if we had him over at the house for one of our famous dinners with everybody. That would be great. And Rita, you heard me. I think that's in the cards. I think that is planned. Thank you, Darryl. What a great conversation. Again, ConsciousLifeExpo.com. The links and advertising and everything else that you need is over at JimmyChurchRadio.com. And go and click and get your tickets, the schedule, all of the speakers, everything is there, including the virtual vendor area where you will be able to create your own avatar. And go and check it out over at Conscious Life Expo. They've got a really cool demo of it. And create your own avatar, walk around, shop, hang out, meet others, do what you would normally do at a conference. And you can do that February 19th through the 21st. And Darryl will be on Sunday. Okay, with that, 747-228-2051. 747-228-2051. And let's see who is up first. I'm watching. Turn me down in the background. First. Yeah, you got to turn me down in the background. Turn me down. With that, okay, all right, that's just not working. Oh, hold on, that actually may be me. Oh, that's me. Oh, I apologize. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Hi, this is Joe from Staten Island. How you doing?
I'm doing good, Joe. How are you?
I got a story that's going to blow the doors off of everything, Jimmy. I'm almost afraid of the attention that I will attract.
I say that again?
I got a story that's going to blow the doors off of everything. I'm almost afraid to say it because of the attention I will attract.
Okay, what is it? What's the story?
Back when, before the pandemic, probably about late January, early February of 2019. You know, Jim, I work nights, right?
Yes.
I do security. A security trained to observe very closely. We're trained to watch things, right?
Yes.
Also, my father was a pilot, so I also took an interest in planes, And Newark Airport is very, not so far away. Like Staten Island is like, let's say, south, east of Newark Airport. But I always watch the plane patterns, the flight patterns of how they come in, right?
Yes.
Because, hey, okay, that. Jimmy, I'm afraid to say the words, but I got permission, okay?
Okay, what happened?
Okay.
Now you've got my attention, Joe. I am focused.
Well, and I'm scared like hell. Okay. Yeah, but let me tell you, You know, I was going through a lot of stuff, a lot of awakening and things, and a lot of awareness things going on, too. You know that in my life, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Granted, I'm working overnight. And about that time, I started to notice these large craft. But they had a flight pattern. They were coming from a flight pattern that I haven't seen before. They seemed to be coming from like the southeast over the ocean, like the Atlantic. And then they're making this turn going towards the airport. Okay. Now, if I tell you what they were, let me say I've never seen a flight pattern like that. Okay. Because that could be on a strange occurrence, but it just seemed like a different flight pattern. Jimmy, think about the pilgrims coming from the old world to the new world, right? Think about how like the Mayflower or whatever you want to say, right? Jimmy, I swear an armada come. These craft were not ours. Let me describe them. They seem to have a large fuselage, like a cargo, like military type plane, like maybe a big 747 or maybe a C-47 in the military, right? But the front and the back of these craft, they had windows too, okay? The front, you know, like the Hammer of Thor, you know, like the Manor, they call it. The front was rounded like that. Think about, remember what was it, that submarine thing they used to have back in the day, boys at the bottom of the sea, like with the rounded front. They had a rounded front and like a rounded back. But Jimmy, I got on post about maybe I was, you know, when you do security, it's not all busy. There's lots of downtime. Sometimes have a smoke, feed the cats, whatever, you know. I'm outdoors, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I see these craft. Jimmy, there were dozens of them, all the same flight pattern, and all heading towards the airport. Whether they landed at the airport or not, I don't know. Who knows? Potentially there's going to be somebody at my door in 10 minutes for all I know. But let me tell you, Jimmy, I was amazed. And I was like, had such a joy, had such a positive feeling, like I almost heard like music in my mind, like almost like angelic type music, kind of like a hum, and it's like it's as if a whole race of aliens from another planet came to like settle here.
Went to Newark, of all places. Okay, so let me ask you this. You said you saw windows, which means to me, and you can answer, that this was fairly up close. You were able to see that. But what about, you described the fuselage, but no wings, nothing else? It was just a tube?
It was a tube with the rounded front, like the Hammer of Thor kind of thing in the front. And more or less, I think like a kind of the same thing in the back. And there were dozens of them. And listen to this. You know, I go home, and it's 6 o'clock, I get off, right? Or 7, whatever it was. You know the presidential helicopter? You know the long one? You know, like the long, like, presidential helicopter they have?
Yeah, Marine One.
I actually saw that come over my parking lot and head towards Newark, as if to greet them.
Okay, you said, I want to continue. How far away were they? And what's that?
They were coming in low for a landing. They must have been, you know, when you come in for a landing in this flight pattern, you're probably a few hundred feet, you know, in the air. I went up on a building, on the roof of one of the buildings, because I wanted to close. And I was so happy. For some reason, I had such a joy, like, they're here. I was like, wow, I'm so amazing, excited. I didn't say anything to anybody, Jimmy.
And you described window. What color were they?
They were like a brownish, military type color. Brownish green, greenish. Green. They're a dark color, like a like a greenish,
okay,
gray, a dark color, like cargo planes.
And how big were the windows, Joe?
They seem to be small portholes, like you see on an airplane, like a 747 or something. There seem to be little portholes.
Was there
a whole row of them? What?
Was there a windshield, something up front, to fly the craft?
Probably so, but it had to be from above. I was looking from below. I couldn't see that. I would have had to be above it. I was below them.
Now, you said that you got permission to talk about this. What did you mean by that?
Well, I have some oracle that I use as a druid, and I wouldn't say what it is, but I have, where to communicate, with certain, let's say, beings, So let's say that. So.
And they said it was okay to talk about this on the show tonight.
Yes.
And now this was December of 2019?
No, it's January, late January to maybe early February of 2019.
Of 2019, so 2 years ago.
No, it would have been before. No, I'm sorry, 2020. I'm sorry.
Okay, so 1 year ago this month.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to ask the Fadernauts. Oh, okay, the numbers are already coming in. Let's see, 183 UFO sightings in New Jersey in 2019. Okay, Point Pleasant, New Jersey patch. Okay, this was over Newark, correct?
Well, I'm in Staten Island, but it was as if they were coming in off the ocean and heading towards the airport. So whether they landed on a field or not, I don't know.
Right.
I can't say, but they seem to be going in that direction.
And were they in a line?
Yes, absolutely. One by one, they following each other. Same flight pattern, every single one. There must have been dozens.
Yeah, and what did you hear?
Nothing, but I don't know, maybe in my mind, like that nice, it sounds weird, I mean, that's a weird set of mind, maybe you know me, but that bit of angelic, tight.
I mean, from the craft itself, no engine sound, jets. You know what an aircraft sounds like. You didn't hear any of that.
Jimmy, I'm not sure. Maybe a little bit. You know what I think? I think sometimes when they come into our atmosphere, they kind of gear down. And maybe, I think they have a way of maybe, you know what I'm saying? Gear down to, using let's say our technology or what have you. And I don't know. I really can't say. I really don't know. But I didn't hear nothing too loud. Maybe some slight rumbling. I don't know. No, it was over a year ago, Jim.
Yeah. And what about, so the next day you thought that you saw the presidential helicopter Marine One in the area. I find that very interesting.
That morning when I went home, when my shift is over, I'd work from let's say, I work 4 hours every night. I come and I do a meal relief. One of your guests talked about that once. I do meal relief. For the guys who take their breaks, so I'm out on patrol. So I'd come in about maybe 2, and leave 6 or 7 or something like that or whatever. So as getting in my car to drive home after my shift, I see this helicopter, the long one, the dark one, the big cigar, military, but not military one.
Mm-hmm.
Came home and told my wife, she said, I thought I was delusional. I mean, that's the thing, but
yeah, totally. Yeah, totally. Any reports in the news? Did anybody else see anything?
I don't, Jimmy, I'm not a supporter of the news, but they wouldn't report it anyway. I see stuff online, but it was just an odd thing. I mean, I just don't know.
Yeah, well, I'm putting it out there for all of the Fadernauts. February of 2020. You know,
it would have been like late January, or it would have been like the January 20th, something or another. Within the space of about 2 weeks time frame, you know, I was trying to remember.
Yeah, fair enough. So if anybody in that area, you know, Manhattan, Staten Island, Brooklyn, of course, New Jersey, if anybody saw anything out there late January to early February of 2020 at what you said, about 2-3 o'clock in the morning, East Coast time?
Let's say this. It was from about 2 o'clock when I went into like about 5 o'clock in the morning. That's how many of them, Jimmy. They were one after the other. Like a whole armada from another planet came to like settle, you know, like the settlers from Europe, like the pilgrims. Like, I'm not kidding. I don't know where they are. They haven't tapped me on the shoulder. I've been having some weird stuff happen to me, you know, like the negative stuff. I've been going through a lot of, you know, awareness, consciousness stuff. But I tell you what, I just don't know.
Yeah.
I'm compelled to. I don't even want the attention.
Yeah, you know, I get that, but I'm glad that we put it out there to everybody. And if you saw something a year ago, like Joe describes here, let us know. Twitter's right there at JChurch Radio. Let us know. I would like to hear from you, and so would Joe. Thank you so much, man. Enjoy your night, and we'll see you tomorrow night on Fader Night, Joe. Thank you so much. Be safe out there.
You got it, brother. Have a good night, and hi to all the Fader Nights out there.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. That's an amazing sighting. It reminds me, I had a family member of mine. I don't want to say specifically what's going on, but many years ago, now he drew me a picture of it, and I have it in the bunker here somewhere. Up in Northern California, he was with a work crew, and they witnessed, now he described it as white, if I believe, but very close to what Joe was describing here. Large fuselage, windows, white, but on the back and the front were these bulges. Now, no wings, nothing like that. 100 to 200 feet long. A crazy picture. I mean, the best way I could describe it, like a little dumbbell, you know, kind of looked like that. You know, a tube with two balls on the end, not large, but bigger than the fuselage, and went across the valley low and slow, and had helicopters front and back, and went across the valley in front of them where they were, and just put them in shock. Well, he drew me a picture of it, and as Joe was describing to me here, what he saw, very, very similar. Very, very similar. Grover's Mill, New Jersey. And let's see. Oh, is that right? Is that right? That's from David. Is that in Grover's Mill? Yo-Yo-Dyne propulsion systems. Is that correct? Yeah, that's pretty interesting, right there. But yeah, that was the description that I got. One day, I'll find the picture. I had it in my hands like 6 months ago, so I know it's close by somewhere here in the bunker. And when I find it, I'll show it to everybody. I'll do a scan and pop it up in social media for everybody. It's very interesting. Okay, there you go. Let's go back to the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Hey, what's up, Jimmy? This is Dave, Lori, and Clint from Georgia. How you doing tonight, brother?
Well, you know, you're right on time.
Yes, sir. Great show tonight.
Yeah, it was a great show. Darryl Anka is the best. Darryl Anka is the best. And, you know, one of the things that I brought up tonight, I brought up a few things, but I was in the very unique position to be with Darryl and introduce him. And we were backstage for about 15 minutes in the little green room area alone.
Yeah.
So we're hanging out, right? And we're talking and things, right? Okay, all right. But then but then I walk out on stage, and I'm gonna guess and say 500 people, maybe 600, maybe more, packed, full. But I walk out on stage, and he's in back, and he's like, okay, let's go. So I went out on stage. I introduced him, but this is what is pretty cool. I was able to ask him the first question. So I walk off stage. I come back around in front of the audience, and now I'm standing in front of a microphone in front of Darryl, who is now Bashar. The audience can see, they know what just happened, right? I was out there on stage. I introduced, I walk off stage, come back around. Now I'm standing in front of them again, but down on the floor at the microphone, and I'm now facing him. And I'm here to tell you, two different people. I'm just like, and I'm standing there. And I'm talking to him. We're having a conversation, and everybody's watching. I'm so confused. I'm just like, this is just bizarre. He looks different. Obviously, he's talking different. He's acting different, but he looks different. And that's why I brought that up with him tonight. Are you aware that physically you change? And he says, yeah, I've noticed it in videos. I see that. It's like two different people. It's not like two different people. Yeah, it's two different people. Have you ever seen a Bashar video?
I have, Jimmy. Yes, and that's amazing you say that. I've known to just have some time alone with him has got to be outstanding. Because apparently also he hits. What I've seen, he hits every a question with an answer on point, so personal to the soul, sometimes of the people. It's just mind-blowing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Bashar, two different entities. It's
two different people.
I try to chalk it up who Bashar is. I've done a lot less, but when to be in the presence of that, now that's extraordinary.
Well, I remember. Yeah, I know. And just like anybody else like this, last year, the time backstage was one thing, but we were together for about 30 minutes before that, and before the audience was let in. So we're in this auditorium by ourselves, this big room, and we sat down and we talked about life, family, this, that, our dogs and food, and it just had this conversation. Absolutely normal. And then, we had to leave and go backstage. The audience now has come in. And so that thing backstage, the best way I can explain it is I saw no transition. There wasn't anything like a meditation or some ceremony that he went through, and I was hoping for that, right? I wanted to see the magic.
I wondered that too.
Yeah, nothing.
No transition. He goes straight to Bashar. And for so many years, he's got to be. To ask him that, come on, what's it like to be him with another entity that's cosmically linked to everyone at the same time, the same moment? It blows my mind, Jimmy.
Yeah, I remember, and I'm not really, there isn't any exposure or anything strange here, but I remember the two of us were standing there, and you could hear the crowd outside, and, there's a lot of people there. And he just turned to me, he tapped me on the shoulder, and he goes, okay, let's go. That was it. It was like that. And I walked out on stage and introduced him, and it was profound for me. It's life-changing.
It's life-changing for people. I've witnessed some amazing stuff that he said. Did he have his crystals next to him and everything?
Oh, you know what? I can't believe you just said that. I meant to ask him about crystals tonight and crystal skulls. The conversation just got away from me. But I wanted to ask him about that, and I didn't.
We will.
Did
I just want to say before we hang up, brother, I remember 2013 when you played Count the Fed. What's the game where you looked in the audience at the big UFO convention? He's like, one of five of you out there are like federal.
Yeah.
What's the name of that game you played, Jimmy? You would say this. Remember?
Yeah, Spot the Fed.
Spot the Fed, Dave. And people kept pick them out. And then one time, Jimmy, you wore like a trench coat, right? Or some black with black glasses. He looked like a Fed. And people were thinking, man, is he? Yeah.
I forgot all about that. I did do that, though. Man. I did do it. If you ever get the chance, I think you could probably do a simple Google search and look up Bashar on time travel. And this...
I was going to mention some Peter to you. That's amazing you say that. That's how Bashar's connected. Don't mean to cut you off, but as we're talking, like I'm here saying, I was going to say something I'm telling my brother. When he talks, even the president, it's all connected at once. Like everything at one time, and he's able to communicate and make you feel, and everyone captivated in the audience, even us out here listening in the radio through our cell phones, feel part of it too. It's amazing.
Yeah,
so
it's crazy.
Right now, Bashar's totally like, yeah, I got you.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, probably. And this is the other thing that is so amazing, and he mentioned it tonight. But Bashar speaks for 2 hours without a stutter, without a flutter, without a pause, without a hesitation. Like he said, there's no there is no and it is solid crank through. His
eyes are closed like a tranquil lake.
It's amazing.
It's amazing.
It's amazing. Well, you'll be able to check it out in a couple of weeks at the Conscious Life.
I can't wait for that. Thank you for mentioning that.
You guys be safe. And we'll see you tomorrow night on the show.
I can't wait. Good night. Go back to Texas.
Good night, guys. Behave and be well. We'll see you tomorrow night. And, February 19th through the 21st, the Conscious Life Expo. And that's what we will be doing tomorrow night right here on Fade to Black. It is Fader night, but we will have Robert Q. Quicksilver, the producer of Conscious Life Expo, with us tomorrow night, along with Serena Wright-Taylor. We're going to do a full-on preview of everything top to bottom with this year's 2021 Conscious Life Expo. And then open lines because it's Thursday and it's Fader night. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. What a great show tonight. I do want to thank Darryl Anka. Always amazing when he's on with us. Fade to Black's executive producers, Rita Camarion. Show is produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee, Dennis, and Kevin. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vito, and Mark D. Kovar. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy. SpaceboyMusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network, and syndication is KGRA, The Planet. This broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2021 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network, Inc. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. Oh, Yo-Yo Dine was Buckaroo Banzai. Duh. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. I'll see everybody tomorrow night. Until then, everybody be safe. It's time to Fade to Black.